Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd Family part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. If you jump on here live here on this Thursday evening, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Make sure to give the video a like, a thumbs up. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so and share the video on all social media platforms. I want to come on here tonight and just talk about some of the overall happenings and might be happenings in the sports world. And good evening, Keveron. Glad to have you here as always. If the weather gets as bad as anticipated, I may not be on here much this weekend. My hope is to do a video every day, but can't make any promises right now because this past storm we had, we did lose our power, but not for a very long period of time, but we did lose it. But if something else happens and we lose it for a longer period of time, I may not be able to do one. So if I'm not on here the next few days, that's why, but my intention is to do one every day. But the NBA trade deadline is next week, and right now the NBA is wide open. There's just not a team that looks like they're far and away the best team right now. So you might see a lot of happenings and goings on in the NBA trade deadline world. Now, I know my Pelicans still say they're not trading Zion Williamson because apparently teams are calling for him. But I've said this numerous times. I'd trade him. I know he's still very young. I think he's still just 25 years old. I get that. He's supposed to be your centerpiece. I get that. You trying to build your team around him. I get that. But his whole time in the NBA, he has missed more games than he's played. And you can't build a team around somebody that's not going to play because the best ability is availability, and Zion's never available. Hey there, we'll just call you AT. Glad to have you here on this Thursday evening. And if he's your franchise player and he's the guy you're building your team around and you've had him this long and you still suck, then what good's he doing? Go ahead and trade him, get rid of him, and get something for him and build toward the future, because the future is not with Zion Williamson. Now, there's a big rumor going around that the Warriors actually want him, and they want him and Herb Jones, and the Pelicans would get Jimmy Butler in return. Now, Jimmy Butler's 36 years old. He's past his prime. But, in his career, up until he got to Golden State, he made each team he played for better. But at this point in his career, I don't think he would help the Pelicans. But if you got to get him to get rid of Zion, I say go for it. And Herb Jones would be a critical piece for the Warriors because he is a phenomenal defensive player. And the Warriors really don't have anybody that plays defense worth a darn. So I can see that trade happening, but it probably won't because the Pelicans say they're not getting rid of Zion Williamson. But I definitely would do it. Arizona is the best team right now in college basketball. Here we are, basically in February, and they're still undefeated, 21-0. So right now they're by far and away the best team. But, none of this matters until, come tournament time. But now Arizona hasn't been this good. But the last 5 or 6 years, Arizona's put up good numbers and looked good in the regular season. And then come tournament time, they're out by, if not first weekend, second weekend. So what they're doing right now might look good on paper. But until they get in the playoffs or the tournament, whatever you want to call it, and actually do something, Nobody cares if you go undefeated in the regular season. And these last few years, Arizona has just not performed at all in the basketball tournament. Thank you for the kind words there, Supercell. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you for stopping by the channel on this Thursday evening. Feel free to give the video a like, a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed, please do so and share the video on all social media platforms. NASCAR has already canceled all the events for Saturday. It was supposed to be a 2-day event. Saturday was going to be basically like qualifying and the majority of the heat races and the LCQs and all that. And then the actual clash was going to be Sunday night, but they've already postponed everything for Saturday. Hey there, 777. Glad to have you here. And hey there, 2025. Glad to have you here on this Thursday evening. So right now it's looking like it's all going to be done on Sunday, but with the forecast looking like it looks, more than likely Sunday, nothing's going to happen. So it'll probably be all in one day where they'll start early in the morning, like 8:30 or 9, have the qualifying, the heat races, the LCQ, and then the clash, but it's probably going to be on Tuesday or Wednesday. I do think it'll be at Bowman Gray Stadium, but I don't think it'll be on Sunday. I think it'll be Tuesday or Wednesday. And 777, you are a Ricky Rudd fan. I never was a huge Ricky Rudd fan. He seemed like a nice guy, but when he drove and Mark Martin drove, and I was a huge Mark Martin fan, so there was no way that I was going to start pulling for Ricky Rudd over Mark Martin. Mark Martin was my man back when I was in high school and, shortly after. But, Ricky Rudd was a good driver, but when I was in school, I think I had every Mark Martin t-shirt, every Mark Martin hat. If Mark Martin sold it, I had it. So Mark Martin was my man back in the day. Hey there. Appreciate that, Circus. And hey there, Raymond. Glad to have you here on this Thursday evening. Fresno State has now joined Clemson in saying that Ole Miss, and more specifically, Pete Golding, are about as dirty as they come. And, when Dabo Swinney first brought this up about a week ago, he said that, it was wrong. And if college football is not going to, have rules and follow the rules, we have no sport because you're letting people, blatantly break the rules and doing nothing. But I don't think they do anything. I really don't. I think they're going to either come out and say, we're going to warn Pete Golding, or they'll come out and say, oh, we're going to suspend Pete Golding for 2 games, which means nothing. So I don't think anything will happen. But I do think if you're the NCAA and you want to try to set a standard and make folk think that you're going to stop this, I think Ole Miss is the team that you could use, because until Lane Kiffin came there, it's not like Ole Miss has a long history of winning. They don't. They're not a Georgia. They're not a Ohio State. They're not a Alabama. They're not a Michigan. They're not a Oregon. They're not one of the blue bloods of college football. So it's not like you're trying to set a standard against, a team that has a huge following. Ole Miss doesn't. So, if you put Ole Miss on probation, outside of a few thousand people in the Ole Miss area, nobody's going to care. So if you want to try to set a standard, I think they would be the team to try to set a standard with. But I don't think anything will happen. And I can see this, not saying it will, but I could see this being a reason why Dabo Swinney retires, because Dabo had said from the get-go that paying players was a terrible idea, and paying players was going to be the death of college football, and nobody listened. And Dabo was 100% accurate, but nobody listened. So I can see the NCAA claiming they're investigating this, and a few months down the road, nothing will happen. It'll all blow over. And I can see, Dabo Swinney coming out in a year or two and saying, you know what? This is not the college football I grew up playing and grew up watching and have coached at the last 25 years. And if we're going to let these teams and these coaches just go around and blatantly break the rules and do nothing about it, I'm not going to be involved in this. So I can see this being something that would make Dabo Swinney retire if he has a desire to retire, but I don't think he does. Dabo always strikes me as a type to where when he feels like he's done, I don't think he'll stick around. He strikes me as a type that when he thinks he's done. There ain't going to be no waiting around. There ain't going to be any thinking about it. There ain't going to be no meandering about it. There ain't going to be no him hollering around about it. I think he's the kind of guy that strikes me as when he feels like he's done, he's done. So I think if Dabo was done, he would have already retired. But if this investigation leads to nowhere, which I think it will, I could see this being something that would make him retire because this is not what college football was, 30, 40 years ago. And this is not where they wanted it to be. But, I've said from day one it was a terrible idea. And obviously it's a terrible idea. But when you've got a sport that for 25 years has been known to let players and coaches get by with everything and do nothing and have rules but not follow them and have standards but not follow them, and all of a sudden you let money come into play, how did people not think this is what was going to happen? You've got a sport with no rules, and now you've got millions of bucks on the line, and you think players and coaches are going to follow the rules? No, of course not. And Darian Mensah is officially now the quarterback with the Miami Hurricanes. So third straight year Miami's gone out and got a transfer. Now, of course, Darian Mensah is the guy that started out at Tulane, left Tulane, went to Duke, had a really good season, but nobody talked about it because it's Duke. And now he's going to Miami. Now, you had to have the paperwork in, I think, 2 weeks ago, tomorrow, the 16th of January. But just because you had to have your paperwork in that day doesn't mean everything was going to be finalized that day. And I remember hearing the Thursday, the day before the actual NIL closed and the portal closed, I remember hearing people say that Darian Mensah was going to be the quarterback in Miami. But, of course, Duke took their time, so it's just now coming out. But he will be the new quarterback with the Miami Hurricanes. So they go out and get Cam Ward and then Carson Beck and now Darian Mensah. He had a teammate that's actually transferring there with him, but, of course, he's not the quarterback and he didn't have a great season, but he's actually got a teammate transferring with him from Duke to Miami. Any thoughts on any of this? Please feel free to let me know. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. What do Way Stations and the Red Hot Chili Peppers have in common? They both give it away, give it away, give it away now. Give it away, give it away, give it away now. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of three.